Hello and welcome to Halftime at the Footy. My guest today has been involved in WA football for almost half a century. He first started out as a player for East Perth and has since held a string of administrative roles that have seen him help guide WA football through its most colourful era. He's been there for the birth of the Eagles, plus the Dockers into the AFL, as well as the inception of Peel Thunder. He's also played a crucial role in helping to mould the current AFL and WAFL partnership model. We're here at Subiaco Oval to catch up with Grant Dorington. He's held a number of titles at the WA Football Commission, currently the Director of Pathway and Competitions, but his recent decision to retire will see him walk away at the end of July.
Yeah, look, it's the day of reckoning that I never thought would happen, but I'm pleased to be able to say I'm sitting here because some of my mates never got to make that call because they've passed away, been killed, died earlier. So I'm really very lucky and proud to be able to sit here and answer that question with you.
Take me back to your playing days. Now, you played at East Perth and your footy career was cut short. What happened there?
I mean, I'd been knocked out 5 or 6 times and it got to a stage where I went to a neurosurgeon. I'd collapsed twice, one while I was teaching, and he said, this is what happens when you get concussion. Now, you play footy and they don't ever tell you what happens when you get concussion. It's like, get up, son, and get on with it, give your head a shake. But when you have serious concussion, as I had, and you find out the ramifications and then you look at what the impact in the future could be, well, I'm not being rude, you've got to make a decision. And I was never going to be Barry Cable, Graham Farmer. I was just that middle-of-the-road player that loved the game. So I thought, well, I'm a teacher, I love the game, I'll move into another area. I resigned, never played another game, and went into coaching and then administration. So it was all part of a trigger to make the journey I've had today. So that's the way the worm turns.
You mentioned that you moved into coaching. One of your stories that is still talked about today is you made your team march on into enemy territory. Explain that one to us.
Yeah, look, it was a really important game, as they all were, with the arch enemy. I mean, West Perth was seriously East Perth. I mean, we had 16 or 17,000 people at Perth over us. You can imagine the atmosphere. We're in front at three-quarter time, and then a fella by the name of Chris Stazanowski for West Perth kicked 5 in the last quarter, and Les Fong. And we lost a game that we should never have lost. Now, at East Perth, losing to the enemy is bad, and losing to the world's worst enemy, West Perth, as coach had to do something really strong.
He called us to training on a Monday afternoon, and we all fronted up there, and he said, "Okay, put your runners on," and so we all put our runners on, and we didn't know where we were going. Anyway, as it turned out, we ended up at Leederville Oval, which is sort of some distance away. But it was peak hour traffic, and people were tooting horns at us, and we had to walk around the oval and walk up the middle of the ground and say we didn't like West Perth, and that was interesting because people were at Leederville Oval as it was then, and watching these East Perth players walking on their hallowed turf.
So they rang the newspapers, and there was a newspaper in those days called the Daily News, and on the front page it had that I should be sacked. So I had to front the East Perth board about why wouldn't I lose my job for going to the enemy's ground. So look, it's all part of the million stories that you get in footy, the mythology, the Robin Hood stuff, things that half the time wasn't that way, but that was a true story, and I had a reason for it. Would I do it today? I don't think I might.
Doro's a character, and he always has been, always said what he thinks. Pretty tough coach, as a young guy coming through. He called it as he saw it, so you knew what was going on. So I think he was an outstanding coach. He worked through with his players. He made it tough for a lot of guys, and some guys don't handle that. I certainly did. I thought I played some reasonable footy under Doro, and a lot of my mates did as well.
Take us back to 1997. The WAFL was rebranded as the West Star Rules competition. What was the reasoning behind that, and why didn't that stick?
Yeah. Well, the reason was with the Eagles and the Dockers coming into the business, the WAFL took a major hit. It was the #1 brand in the state. It now wasn't. So there was a lot of turmoil, civil war, unrest amongst the troops and the people. You know, the passion. The game had changed from my era, my dad's era, where the East Perth was the premier competition, you know, in the WAFL comp. It changed now, and there was a new boy on the block. The new boy was VFL, by the way, in those days. So there was a whole lot. So part of the marketing was a workshop of leading WAFL people to say, do we change the brand? And the comment at that stage was, well, yeah, let's get a new name, because this other name's been around for 100 years. Why don't we change the name? So there was about 25 names, by the way. West Side, the whole lot, and it came up with West Star. Stars of the West, you know, it was all about that. Now, everyone thought, there's a really good idea. Went out, but it was like everything. It didn't turn out to be the right idea. Now I still cop it from a lot of people about my idea. It wasn't just mine. I was part of the team, by the way, but it was done for a good reason. But what it did do, 2 years later, it cemented to all the people in the WAFL that the WAFL was what they should stick with. The WAFL is a great brand. We've just got to work out now, where does it fit? How do we make it better, and how can it now start to grow? So it was almost part of that learning curve in the development of the game. But of course, as I said earlier, when you do make change, and it doesn't always work, people remind you, and in footy they remind you a fair bit.
The work he's done in administration with the WAFL has been second to none. I mean, he's been an outstanding contributor, and albeit, you know, there's been times when he's made decisions that people don't agree with, but it's not a popularity contest. It's about getting the decisions right and trying to work with people so that you do make the right call.
What was your role in the establishment of the Fremantle Football Club, and how did you find that?
Look, I went down there for 3 years as a title of Manager of Special Projects. It was really the commission which bought the licence, wanted to have one of its senior managers sitting in amongst the team. So I had the privilege. And look, how many people can sit in the establishment of a footy club? I mean, I sat in meetings about the name, it should it be this, should it be that. No, there was huge euphoria. The colours, the song, the rock and anchor that they used to tow out was all part of the ideas that I was involved with. So I had all that pleasure of helping set up, be part of a team to set up the Dockers, which are growing all the time and getting better and will be one of the powerhouse sides. So, I mean, again, how privileged have I been to be part of it? I mean, not many people sit in their era with the establishment of the Eagles, the establishment of the Dockers, and then the establishment of Peel Thunder in the WAFL level, which I was involved with too.
He has been a big part of the Football Commission for over 28 years. And what he has done in terms of being involved in the growth of football in this state has been fantastic.
Who's been the best West Australian footballer that you've seen in your time involved in the game?
Yeah, look, I mean, can I go again? It's a bit of a sneak's way out, I suppose, but different eras. If you could take Barry Cable, who I coached with and I played against, and put him out there today, if you said next Monday the Eagles are playing, you've got to put some players out there. Stephen Michael would be a superstar. 6'4", quick, really hard, great player. Barry Cable would be still an absolute superstar. So you could go through that era and say, if they had the full-time training of the players of today, they would be as good. But when you compare them to today, it's a different world. So the players today, you know, the Chris Judge and those wonderful, I mean, look at Nick Natanui. I sat and watched an African ruckman ruck against a Fijian and a bounce down on Subi Oval. Talk about a big journey in the game. Talk about the connection of multicultural. Talk about the spread of the game to the world, which AFL's doing. All wonderful stuff. And to see that duel, you wonder where it's going to be in another 20 years. And I have no doubt there'll be American basketballers jumping at the centre, and there'll be other great players from around the world, because this country is truly a multicultural country. The Djakovic's and the Sikatoskos came in those early years. Tomorrow, Natanui's, Majak Dor, we've got 4 or 5 African boys in our WAFL ready to play league footy. Paul Magumwa, Paul's a premiership player from Uganda. So talk about a big journey, I tell you. 20 years ago, if someone had told you the story I'm just telling you, they would have looked at you and thought, gee, we better get him out of footy quickly.